Alright, so, I have severe panic attacks and they shut me down. I'm not allowed to because I have a penis, because I'm white, because I'm not rich, and because I'm not pretty. But I'm gonna tell you why it is that I am this way. I have severe panic attacks from long-term physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Going to the police has historically gotten me ignored or punished further. Going to them about bullies gets me blown off. I'm going to tell you about the issues that I have now. I don't really get to sleep at night. I'm up all night having a severe panic attack because I need help. Most people are asleep. One of the tactics used to prevent me from making a police report was to claim that I was attempting suicide and lock me up. When somebody is suicidal and they're telling you that they're suicidal, you need to find out why it is that they're suicidal. Nobody fucking cared when it came to the government. And when I say the government, the hospitals fit into that category too. Officer Waylon Lolatai. One of the tactics that officers will use to allow or sheriff's departments or police captains will use to protect their officers when their officers do something wrong is to allow them to transfer to another department out of jurisdiction, and that prevents them from being pursued. Officer Waylon Lolatai escaped being charged for his wrongdoing by transferring to Boulder Police Department from Denver after assaulting a man in the jail. Because of this officer was allowed to assault me, as well as 6 others after assaulting me. Now, there are officers involved with Natalie's case who are allowed to do that. Officer Burke was known for assaulting people, so they transferred him to the same place, Boulder County, where Officer Waylon Lolatai was transferred to the city of Boulder. Officer Burke was transferred to Longmont, where he assaulted me. Another tactic that they use is to intimidate your friends or family and to separate you from anybody who can witness their wrongdoing, to separate you from anybody who is trying to help you. Now, that first tactic, where they allow you to transfer somewhere else, Officer Waylon Lolatai did wrong, and because somebody was trying to press charges against him for his wrongdoing, they allowed him to transfer to another jurisdiction. Here in Chapel, Nebraska, they did the same thing. They allowed Cody Selhorst to transfer to another jurisdiction. They allowed Officer Jared Anderson to move to another jurisdiction. It's not just the police that do this, though. Now, there's also the Public Pretender's Office. Pamela Carty moved, so I can't pursue her or her statements. She was in Arapahoe County. Then there's Amanda Balehash. who was supposed to be my public pretender in Boulder. Because I was trying to pursue her in court, they allowed her to become a judge. She's a judge in Adams County. That's the very county that I was trying to take to court over their wrongdoing in the Natalie Bollinger case and how they treated me over it, including Officer Burke, the one who transferred to Longmont. They did the same thing here in Nebraska, though. Joel Jay was our county prosecutor, and for his role in covering up for the sheriff's department here, he was allowed to transfer to become a judge in Kansas, as I hear it. Now, let me tell you about the tactics they used here in Chapel, Nebraska. When I was in Boulder, they charged me with assault after I was assaulted by Officer Waylon Lolotai. After charging me with assault, they kept me tied up and all of my money tied up in the courts until I ultimately actually did attempt suicide. The first time they were claiming that I was attempting suicide, and I wasn't. They did that so that they could get away with doing whatever the fuck they wanted. So, after they had a better frame job at Clearview, which Clearview, by the way, I made a report about them and several videos about it, and the tactics that they used. Months later, those very same tactics that people called me a liar about, it turns out that, well, they were doing that, and they killed a man doing that, and they pushed several other people to commit suicide upon release. Now, Boulder County dropped the charges against me to prevent me from speaking out, from having the things that those officers did to me documented by the courts. Now, here in Chapel, Nebraska, they did the same thing. They pressed charges against me. Now, first of all, the crimes they pressed against me here in Chapel, I actually did. But they didn't want the reasons why I was forced to do those things to be brought up in court. So what they did instead is they claimed I was attempting suicide, and they lied to Jen Beebe and claimed that I had tried to reach for one of their guns and was trying to suicide by cop in order to have me sent to Scotts Bluff, where they wanted to drug me. And in order to prevent them from putting those drugs into me, I held their computers hostage. If you think it's okay to put drugs in me, I think it's okay to break your things. This is my body, not yours. I needed police help. I needed Jen Beebe to do her job as well. Now, in order to get any of these people to do their jobs, number one, I need someone to go in with me. Number two, I need transportation to these places. That's pretty important. I also need an income. They use the same tactics America-wide. Police officers' training is not about your safety. It's about how they can get away with breaking the law. Now, Boulder County, like I said, they dropped the charges against me to prevent me from Well, from telling on those officers and having it documented, they did the same thing here in Dual County. They dropped the charges against me so that I couldn't bring up the things that they did, or the fact that I was forced to break the law. So I couldn't bring that up. And that's the thing about the Scotts Bluff case. If I would have been able to have an honest day in court here in Dual County and have it documented what those officers did, which it should have been documented, by the way, by the Highway Patrol. If I had been able to have an honest court date and bring up what those officers did, those officers would literally be in prison for what they did to have me put in Scotts Bluff. However, 2 of those officers are not here. Officer Jordan Anderson is no longer in this state. Officer Cody Selhorst is no longer in this state. Now, they use jurisdiction to prevent you from making a report. This is another one of their tactics. See, if you have a court date that you're not allowed to go to, they can use that outcome from that court date that you were illegally prevented from going to in any jurisdiction in the United States. Say, oh, see, he has a history of this, and a history of this, and a history of this. No, I don't have a history of those things. I was illegally prevented from going to court. However, you're not allowed to bring up anything from any jurisdiction except for the one that you're in. The number of jurisdictions that were allowed just in my Arapahoe County case, where I was never allowed to speak or show evidence, people from at least 8 different jurisdictions were able to put their 2 cents in without even going to court. Fuck this goddamn country. You guys want to be angry at me for how I react to this abuse? You should pay attention to how much of it I've gone through. That's what happens when you don't have family in your corner, when your family doesn't give a shit. Now, my little brother, Michael, molested his own stepdaughter. And guess what? He got away with it. Do you know why? Because although my mother doesn't give 2 shits about me, she loves the hell out of my little brother, the child molester. Now, there are a great many women, from Jamie Curtis to Caroline Coffey to Rand Ingersoll to Nicole Knudsen, and a great many others that my little brother was more than just sexually inappropriate towards. Also Amanda Engeline, although Amanda Engeline had a threesome with my little brother and his best friend Drake Chambers. Drake Chambers is a rapist, also a meth dealer. Nearly every girl in this town who's ever been addicted to meth can tell you how tiny Drake Chambers' dick is. Drake Chambers also had sex with his own sister. Isn't that gross? Now, one of the tactics that was used was to ship me to a different jurisdiction. Boulder County, when I tried to turn them in for what they did, I was at a Vista Hospital in Boulder County. I needed the Boulder County Sheriff there. And the whole time I was at a Vista Hospital, I was asking for them. They repeatedly refused my request for that. When I called 911 from the hospital, they took my phone and told me it's a felony to call 911 from a hospital. I needed a police officer there. So what did they do? They drugged me, and they shipped me to Clearview. In Johnstown. In Clearview, I was threatened, harassed, and intimidated by the staff there. Not all of them. Some of them were very nice. They wouldn't allow me to speak to a police officer either. Then they assaulted me and drugged me. I tell every one of these places that I'm in, don't put those drugs in me. You won't like me. There are over 100 people that I've spoken with. They have the same reaction to those drugs. Those drugs are dangerous. When they put drugs in you that make you violent and then harm you for being violent, there's an issue. Especially when they try to force you to get violent after injecting those with you. Antagonize you. Yeah, maybe laughing at someone for trying to get the police there is not a good idea. Especially after you've put mind-altering drugs in them. After you have forcibly injected them with mind-altering drugs. I did not consent to putting any drugs in my system. But they continued to do so. This is their tactics when you try to turn in bad police officers. Then they went out of their way to do everything they could to assault me in many of these places. Officers were allowed to assault me in hospitals. Fuck the medical community and fuck the United States. Fuck every police officer in America. Now don't get me wrong, there's police officers that I like as individuals, but the fact that they're cops makes them bad people. Former Officer William Barr of Colorado is a prime example of this. His wife, Jessica Martindale, or Jessica Barr now, was one of my biggest crushes in high school. Now, I'm telling you this because I've been called every name in the book, and they've made every excuse that they can. Like if they call you schizophrenic or bipolar, it makes it okay not to take a report. If they assume that you're schizophrenic or bipolar, it's okay not to take a report. Sheriff Scott DaCosta in this town needs to be in prison. He covered up for the wrongdoing of multiple officers, and all of his officers took part in this. There are multiple witnesses who I had conversations with, and I posted those conversations here on YouTube. There's a post that I made, or not a post, a YouTube video called Peaches the Liar. On there is almost 100 links to other videos, just videos of conversations with witnesses. Not the videos of evidence, although there's probably several hundred of them. Not the videos of situations that I've been in because of this, been forced into because of this, because there's hundreds of them. Not the videos of my hospital visits or my therapy visits, because there are a great many videos of them as well. Those 100 videos that are attached to that are all just conversations with witnesses. Now, Miss Peaches, some of the bullshit that she pulled, well, those recorded phone calls show that she lied to me. Tabitha Michelle Cook, the conversations that I recorded with her and with Graham show that she lied not only to me, but also to Miss Peaches when I called her out on her bullshit.